So I can't watch Back to the Future in 4K
I
because you
remember
can
you.
see all the makeup and it actually wrecks the movie for me. So it's like
That's a
sometimes I'll
drawback.
actually like skip that whole first sequence and go right to the past because it makes everything else look beautiful. But when you're looking at makeup, and it's like, dude, it's like
Sticks out like a
right in your
sore
fucking
thumb.
face.
Yeah,
And like I noticed it on the mom, the dad, the principal, and I'm like, I noticed it originally on the Blu-ray, and I'm like, oh, it can't be that noticeable. And then I'm like watching a 4K, it's like, fuck you, here it is.
yeah,
Sometimes that lower quality helps to its advantage for many reasons.
I mean,
yeah.
hell, when it was in, we watched it at the drive-in, it was beautiful. I didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. But when you
Yeah.
clean, it's like wiping the glass off after it's dirty. You're like, oh fuck me.
Yeah, I remember when I watched Terminator 2 in 4K for the first time, because that to me is like Ninja Turtles, where it's just timeless with costumes and makeup and effects. And then when I saw the part where Arnold's ready to shoot the T-1000 with the like the metal like around the eye here and stuff,
Mhm.
and he does the Hasta la Vista, baby,
Yep.
you could finally see like the glue lines, and I was like, hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Film Asylum, where if you're crazy about movies, you belong here. We are your hosts, Colin Peters.
Don't you fucking dare.
Jeff, go ahead and introduce yourself.
I'm Jeff Manfred, and right now I'm really hating John. Yep, fuck you.
Yeah.
They let you have the second introduction. I went last this time. See, I did you a courtesy.
Courtesy. How? I can't even rant about you right now.
I'm waiting for a good rant.
I've got one brewing, so just give me a bit. I think
We
it was a
got to,
little too nice with Blair Witch.
yeah, that surprised me. It still surprises me, actually. But
Last episode, yeah.
Jeff showed professionalism and he's evolving.
Exactly.
Can teach an old dog new tricks.
But I'm as friendly as a rabbit. I mean,
All right. We got a two for today. We're talking about 2014's Creep and its sequel, Creep 2. These are actually like some pretty lesser known horror movies. Obviously, they're pretty recent, you know, 2014, it's 2023. These are considered like those found footage or videography documentary type horror movies. We had a slew of them there for a while after Blair Witch because they tried to cash in on that sort of theme. And this was actually suggested to me by a coworker, and he said it was on Netflix. Give it a try. He's like, it's not, excuse me, it's not great, but it's not that bad either. So I gave it a go. I suggested it to these guys, and now we're here talking about them.
yeah, these both these movies were directed by Patrick Bryce, who plays Aaron in the first movie. So he is one of three cast members in the first film in 2014, and he has footage of himself in the second movie, also directing that one. And I actually didn't realize this, but all these people kind of came together from one man and one specific movie, and that was Safety Not Guaranteed, directed by Colin Trevorrow. They all sort of worked together on this one indie film, and that's what kind of brought them back together to make Creep. I know when they had this 5 page outline for this film, it was originally going to be a black comedy, but the more footage they showed their friends, the more they felt unsettled, and hence the title, Creeped Out. They thought, hey, we need to really market this more as a straight up unsettling horror film. And so they did.
Yeah, I think the original comedy movie that they were gonna do is gonna be called Peach Fuzz, which in it's in the movie Creep, the creeper. He has this mask that he calls Peach Fuzz, which is this like fuzzy wolf mask. The main premise, we should say, is there's this guy who is a videographer named Aaron, who actually is the real director, as John said, and he gets paid what $1,000 a day, I think,
$1,000 for just one day. Yeah.
to videotape this dude's life because apparently he said he's got brain cancer and he's got a wife and an unborn child yet, and he wants a video for his kid to see. Here it turns out that it's all not true, and this guy's just hiring these videographers to toy with him because he's got issues, and it just slowly progresses to like weirder and weirder creeped out shit.
Yeah. You're not really sure, is this guy truly depressed and lonely and he has a lot of societal issues? He doesn't know how to interact with people. And so, or is he really dying of cancer? Because he said he had it, beat it, and then it came back in the form of a brain tumor. And so he wants to make this video for his unborn son. They actually, this is, I forgot they mentioned this, but in the very beginning, when I watched the film, they referenced the movie My Life, with has Michael Keaton in it, where he is once again playing, where he's playing somebody dying of cancer, and he makes a video diary for his unborn son. So that's one thing I love about this movie, is that I want there to be a reason why the found footage docu style format is happening. Like, I want to hear a good reason. I want to hear justification, not just the same old making a documentary about this subject. No, it's actually more personal and more sensitive for the lead guy because he's dying and he wants to give his child something to remember him by. So I thought that was a good setup and a good justification for why this is happening. And then it goes off the rails very fast. And Jeff is shaking his head. Like,
Like
no,
you're talking.
no tubby time for you, apparently, I guess. So.
Listen, I wanted to chuck a toaster in the tub when he started doing all that creepy shit. All right, like that whole buildup, I wish was a little bit more fast paced because, like, to me, even though it wasn't really a long film, it had too much of a like slow build. There was a lot there they could have worked with, and truthfully, like when it got to tubby time, I was not expecting, the male nudity at all. So straight up just seeing the dude's dick for no reason at all. I'm like, what the fuck am I watching? I was half tempted just to text you guys like, what the fuck? But it's like, all right, I'm like, for the movie, let's finish watch this out. I'm like, and that whole like drawn out tub scene, I'm like, yo, this is getting more and more awkward. I get that was the point of that whole sequence. And I'm like, at what point should Aaron be like, I'm no, 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 no.
No.
Wondering that in a lot of moments in this movie, like especially when they go on a hike and the dude Joseph is the creeper.
Yep.
If you don't know that's his real name or not, but he carves or etches a heart and it says A and J in it.
Yeah.
Like what the hell?
I mean, I should also, the guy who plays Joseph, his name is Mark Duplass. He's also brother of Jay Duplass. They've all worked together on Safety Not Guaranteed. And I think he had this idea for this film. He approached Jason Blum of Blumhouse, and that's why they got together to make this movie. I think it's specifically for Netflix. They made these two movies just for Netflix, and they have a good connection, a good rapport. And I didn't realize what he had been in beforehand. Like, I remember the movie Safety Not Guaranteed. I thought this was like his film debut, Mark Duplass's film debut, but it's not. And I
Yeah,
didn't
he has
realize
a resume.
that he had a brother before. Like, oh yeah, you never heard of the Duplass brothers? Yeah, they collaborate all the time. They were in bands together. They made music together. I'm like, no, I didn't know that. So I
Yeah,
learned something about that.
yeah, I think Mark was also in an HBO show, and I think he was
Mm-hmm.
in Jurassic World 2. I know he was, yeah,
Huh.
yeah, he was saying that the option of them to pitch it to try to get it into a theatrical release was going to be an idea, but I guess in 2014 their competition was just like all over the place. When there were still movies worthy of like box office draws, that Creep probably wouldn't have made much of anything, but it was so cheap that it probably would have made something back possibly.
Yeah.
But I think they said it was just going to be easier and probably get more clicks if they just would have had it on Netflix and made it just a Netflix movie. And I think Netflix was like really supportive in their project
Oh
because
yeah.
they were because at that time they were looking for some different things to build a brand that be like original Netflix movies. Because
Hmm.
it was still pretty new at that time that you didn't have just Netflix films. You
Right.
know, it was if something was streaming, it was like previous stuff that was there, and they just brought it to streaming.
Right. We go back and talk about the Blair Witch, how that basically opened the world to found footage. Paranormal Activity made it popular. So this was during that craze of everyone was having like three, four to seven found footage movies every year. And I'm actually kind of glad this stayed on Netflix. It just has its own little platform and it's also very short. I think it's only like 85 minutes long. It doesn't need to be any longer than it has to be. And
Yeah.
I think the sequel gets more to the point, and I think it breaks more rules, which we'll get into later. I myself prefer the second one to the first one, even though I like the jumping off point that the first movie gives us.
Well, that's how I viewed the first one. Like if they would have had just a one and done, I would have been like, okay. But the second one, it did what a sequel does. It gives you a little bit of what it was supposed to be before with some new stuff, and it tries to outdo the last one. And I agree with you, John. I think the second one was better,
Yeah,
but you can't have one without the other.
you can't. They kind of like are companion pieces. If you watch the first one, you might want to watch the second one right away.
I mean,
They go
uh,
hand in hand. There didn't need to be a third one, even though it's been saying for a while it's in development. I don't want there to be a third one, if that helps. After seeing the second one,
as odd as this sounds, I do want that third one because of that jumping off point from two. Because I like the character into kind of like mirroring him and then almost the intensity from the two building off of each other. So
mm-hmm.
he was trying to outdo her, but she was also outdoing him to prove a point. And then at the end of the movie, that nice little touch, I'm sitting there going, well, you left it here. Where could you go? But I'm like, I want to see whether or not this character is um, going to be in the third and whether or not those two are going to continue their intensity.
I see. I do like the ambiguity of this, how that ended, because I've seen some interpretations of is it actually him or is it somebody else filming her on a random day in New York? I mean, we'll get more into the spoilers of that, but there's a lot to digest for the second one as opposed to the first. The first one just feels more straightforward. And like you said before, why is Aaron making all of these horrible decisions? Why is he not jumping ship right away? He's trying to, but Joseph is always one step ahead of them. And it really comes down to individuality. It comes down to who they are in their nature. Aaron, at his core, just is a nice guy. And unfortunately, that becomes his downfall in this entire film.
No,
And
no, 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 no,
Joseph
no,
knows that.
no. His downfall is he's an idiot.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
He's nice because he's an idiot.
I mean, so you touched a little bit on like the whole wood sequence where they're talking, and you constantly notice that Joseph is kind of getting further and further away from Aaron. And like after a while, you start realizing it's on purpose. Because at one point he stops mid tracks and acts like there's something else in the woods and runs off, like fucking beelines in the woods. And I'm like, oh, here we fucking go. And
He
then
just
I'm like,
wants a good jump scare.
well, and then like Aaron follows. I'm like, no, no, you should have just left. You had your keys. You could have went home. Fucking leave this guy in the fucking woods. What does Aaron do? The stupidest thing ever. And just like, let's go find him.
I forget, like in the beginning of the movie, did he give him all of the money up front, or did he just give him like half now, half later? It looked like it wasn't all of it, and he says, "I'll give you some now. I'll give you more later when we finish it."
Yeah, it's pretty much just to keep him there. I'm like, dude, just you pocket that $500. It made your time. Get the fuck out of there.
Yeah,
Here's gas money for
Right. I don't know how far
inconvenience.
you traveled, but there's an axe and a stump outside this guy's house, and he's been taking pictures of you before you knocked on his door. Red flags everywhere, man.
Yeah, he shows him them at a diner. He was like, "Oh
Like,
yeah, I got this. I know this really great diner that has great pancakes." And then he says, "I don't know where it is exactly." And then when they're there, he's like, "Oh yeah, I was taking pictures of you. I thought this would help to get to know you." It's like, what? I mean,
oh
we
my God.
laugh at it because it's comical, but at the same time, if this
Yeah,
really happened, we'd be like, "Whoa, this is fucking weird."
an extremely nice idiot, Aaron. Why, man?
It,
And then
it
it
also
just,
makes me wonder because like at one point Joseph does bring up the fact that he was asking about how well off he is, like how financially unstable that Aaron is, whether or not um that's the only reason he did the job. So it makes me wonder, like, he must really either A, need that money just to kind of make ends meet, but it's like, at what cost?
yeah,
Is that extra $500 worth it? Because
right.
it's like, as the movie went on, Joseph was like kind of upping that creep factor. And like, you keep unraveling the, how fucking off this guy is. It's just like, no, no, no.
And that's what I gotta say. Like the movie really captures well is Mark Duplass's performance as this creepy guy. Like you really, it does make you feel like those like what moments. It does give you like a real uneasy feeling. So um overall in general, like these movies really like aren't great, but they're not terrible, but they really have a way of making you feel a certain way about the uneasiness of what it's trying to do. So these movies are like really effective. That's what I gotta say. Like the best thing about these movies are they are like super effective. And Mark Duplass is just one of those guys that he has that face that he's just like out there. Like you see him when he just stops and stares and he's all
Mhm,
like you don't know like what's going through his mind and he just blanks out or he fake cries and
mhm. Is it really the cancer getting to him? Like he knows he's going to die very, very soon. So he just kind of goes off. It's like an excuse to go off the rails. And that's what Aaron is wanting to believe. And all these confessions and all, especially when the camera goes off, but the microphone is not turned off. That I thought was one of the most unsettling moments where you don't even see them. You just see subtitles of their conversation of something horrific that Joseph did to his wife involving peach fuzz. Like, because it really wants you, like, you want to lean in and listen even closer, turn the volume up even more, even though you can see the subtitles. He's really good at telling stories. It's like he actually has a knack for however creepy or serious or funny it may be. He's a good storyteller.
well, we come to find out that he's been a pro at this for quite some time.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, even in part of his confession, he admitted that he was an actor at some point too. So
Yeah.
that would be a definite way to lure people in with like all those different emotions like coming out and like different confessions, different way he's conducting himself. It made it a little more believable once he admitted to some of the other stuff. So it's like we didn't as an audience, you're not able to believe everything that's coming out of his mouth, but visually you're able to understand like some of what he's saying is actually true. So he
Mm-hmm.
was trying to gain that Aaron's confidence by explaining stuff, but in reality, you have to decipher what was fabricated or what was actually true. Some
Yeah.
stuff you're able to figure out was true just because of the way he was.
I actually really like the actor moment. I kind of got like throwbacks to Timothy Treadwell, who you know from the documentary Grizzly Man, who was an actor and decided to give it up to go live in the wild with the grizzly bears in Alaska before the bears ate him. So it's like that kind of reminds me of Timothy Treadwell when he said like I wanted to be an actor because I was good at pretending and it wasn't real enough. So that, like you said, Jeff, that kind of feels like maybe that's one authenticity that he carries with him every step of the way with every victim or every video that he records.
Doesn't Aaron get like the first real inkling that something's really bad when they get drunk and like
Yeah,
doesn't he put Benadryl in Joseph's drink or
he drugs
something?
him and he's like dreaming about Peach Fuzz. And I missed this part where he started touching himself. I'm like, oh
Yeah.
God,
At,
it's
at the,
coming back. The conversation is coming back into the fold now. But it's what you who you think is Joseph's wife calling him on the cell phone, and Aaron steals the phone and runs off into a corner saying, "Am I in trouble?" And you find out, oh, it's not the wife that he's talking with. He does not have cancer. It's his sister. And she just clearly says, you need to get out of the house now. I'm
yeah,
going to
he's
tell you
not
to just
right.
leave right the fuck now. And then, in my opinion, this is the most unsettling part where he comes out of the trance he's in and just starts fake crying. And then he runs off and then puts the Peach Fuzz mask on his head, blocking the front door.
And honestly, the stance that he's doing in front of that front door, it's like there is no way of getting around it because it's just a hallway and then he's there.
Yeah.
I mean,
But I
who
love
did
the misdirection. The next scene, you think this can't be the way it ends. No, it's just a video of him digging a hole and then sending it to Aaron's apartment where he lives. So he got out of the house. That's great. You think he's dead. No, he actually got out and had his car towed from the driveway. But the creep knows where he lives. And this bugged the shit out of me with how the cops handle it. And I did some research about this, about what the cops' procedure is when it comes to having a stalker. They won't actually do something unless they see physical or visual proof that there is harm being done to somebody. And he's got the video evidence. I don't know why he didn't present that to them, but
Because he's an idiot.
he's an idiot. But he doesn't have any physical scars, like no bruises, no scratches, no cuts or anything. But it also kind of depends on the officer. I mean, the guy did nothing, so I would have tried to get the cop's badge number and report him to a superior officer to have him reported for not taking it seriously. But then there are cases where cops do take it seriously and they have arrested stalkers for doing shit like this. Then again, it was 2014, so I think laws have changed. I think there actually has been something implemented a couple of years ago to really
Could
help
also
victims of stalking.
could also depend on the state.
Could depend on the state, the cops, their mentality, because they consider that low priority as opposed to domestic disturbances, actual domestic disturbances happening at the time, or something more serious. But yeah, good for you, Aaron, for trying to change the locks, but just get the fuck out, man. He knows where you live. Go to the idiot. Doesn't go to the cops, changes the locks, stays at the apartment, doesn't go to a hotel, try to change his pattern up. No, I'm just going to stay here and have weird dreams about this guy invading them.
And then you see him with the camera and while he's sleeping, and Joseph actually sneaks into his place and cuts off like little pieces of his hair.
Ugh, that's your show that to the fucking. Oh my god.
actually I think that was Joseph's doing. Like he kept that so Aaron didn't rewatch his videos. So if he would have had that and rewatched what he was filming, he probably would have saw that. But it ended up being part of Joseph's collection then.
Yeah, he could have made a copy. He could have made copies of it. I don't know. But he didn't. Ugh.
But
And then you
I
have
mean,
the big monologue, and it's like, Joseph, no, man, no. Do not listen to this man. He sounds sad. I don't care what he's done to you. Get the fuck out. Call the police. Like, do not leave the precinct's footsteps. Do not leave their stare. Don't leave the front door until they actually take your case seriously. And he willingly goes out and says, okay, speed dial to 911 if you do anything. Which I'm leading to
but I
believe.
mean,
I wonder if that park that they went to at the very end was not a public place. I wonder if that was like private land that was owned by somebody.
Uh,
but if you look at it, even like as the build up to the ending,
Mm-hmm.
so like there's multiple videos that he was sending, like the body bag, the apology. He sends him the necklace. It's like, so there was multiple things that was happening prior to the last video. And even with that, you're like, dude, just move. I don't know, fucking find a
Yeah.
place.
Go
But
stay in a hotel. Just, apparently, I
um,
mean, his apartment looks pretty nice. I don't know how desperate he is for money, but I looked in that place. I'm like, that's not a bad living environment.
but I think even in the last video before he goes and sits on the bench, he does show that it's right next to a highway. So
Mm-hmm.
it probably is a public place. It's just the fact that it was dipped down just enough where that bench is sitting. But in reality, I'm like, where the fuck was Joseph hiding? It was open.
Yeah.
It was
Yeah.
fucking open.
And it's
What's
pretty
weird
hard to
about that
miss a guy in a trench coat.
What's weird about that scene is that he is dressed and he almost looks exactly like Aaron. It's like you're watching a mirror image of yourself, but you're not. But he's dressed in the same outfit, same color trench coat, almost like same facial features and haircut. It's creepy. And then all of a sudden he drops the axe, and then there's Peach Fuzz in the trench coat.
Well, I thought he put Peach Fuzz on and then he
He
drops
did
the
put Peach
axe.
Fuzz on, then he
Because
dropped
Aaron
the
goes
axe.
because Aaron goes to say, like, okay, I'm gonna meet Joseph in this public park, and he sits on the bench and he's just waiting, and then Joseph comes up behind him and then
And it,
puts Peach Fuzz on and just boom.
And then more misdirection.
but
Joseph has the
honestly,
video.
but honestly, like even Aaron sitting on the bench was uncomfortably long. Like there was nothing happening. And it's like you're just waiting for like that. And then but it doesn't happen. It's like it's really uncomfortable after a while. It's like, all right, did they is this the end of the movie? Is it just gonna all right, now still nothing. And all of a sudden you just see like Joseph like creepily just like shuffle up behind him. I'm like, okay.
No, no, no. Then, of course, the truth comes out when he watches his own video. And that is why you are the greatest person in the world, Aaron, because you're so nice. But why didn't you turn around? Because you're a fucking idiot. And because of that, I love you. God. But this also is really, really funny about the movie is that yeah, there are jump scares, but he creates the jump scares. That's what makes this different than any other kind of jump scare is that he purposely creates the sounds and the noises and popping up in front of the camera. He creates that. It's not some stupid sound effect that happens like in post after the film is done. He's actually making those noises to
Yeah,
create his own jump scares. Like he's watching his own horror movie. I'm the director, producer, actor, writer. I'm the head honcho. I'm going to make whatever I want.
it was almost like he was tormenting his prey prior to killing them because
Yeah.
there was quite a few jump scares and he goes, you like being scared? I'm like, dude, I would have punched you in the fucking mouth.
He picked the right person. The right person showed up at the door because the wrong person probably would have fought back and killed him or at least tried to kill him.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh.
Maybe Creep 3 will be the escapees.
Oh my God. But I love the very ending where he gives himself his own jump scare and then he's answering another call from somebody and you open the closet and it's just a collection of DVDs of all of his victims.
And
That makes more
VHS
sense.
tapes too.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
say some of them look like VHS, so he was doing it for a while.
One said
Prior,
2010 and then one said even I think a couple were even before that.
that's crazy.
Yeah. Creep.
Creep.
And
But
I'd say honestly, like even after like knowing that there is a second one that was there, just watching that one, I did not expect a sequel to ever show up because, like I said, it was really drawn out, even for being a shorter film. Um, the buildup wasn't there, but the idea was. So Joseph was an interesting character, but as normal audiences, I felt like we were taken advantage of because we're supposed to believe that Aaron was that stupid. I
mm-hmm.
get it. There's certain circumstances that people will do stupid things but human nature, you're gonna notice that something's really fucking off no matter how much you need money, no matter what's going on. like, listen, you just fucking leave. And like that's what was kind of sitting with me. Like that, I think that's why I didn't like that movie, because like he was a little too stupid. And I being his first film, they did it together. It was cool that like two friends did the movie, and they filmed it in what, 5 days, which is actually more
It was
impressive.
quick. It was
Yeah.
5 days, and they didn't even have a script really. It was just an outline, and they
Outline.
improv a lot of the conversations between Patrick Bryce and Mark Duplass.
And
I thought
it
that was interesting.
that like I just saw that before we started recording, and I'm like, I thought that was actually a cool thing. Like I could see why it made it very unsettling. Like I said, like, but it made it feel like I said, Aaron was a little too stupid. Like he was too believing, um too nice. I guess is
That's it.
literally what
That
it
was
was.
his flaw. He was too nice, way too nice. As like you said, Jeff, is he was tormenting with his prey. It's the predator and the prey, pretty much. There's a lot of symbolism with wolves. I mean, not just like the and he talks about wolves in one of the videos he sends Aaron, Peach Fuzz mask and the stuffed wolf that has the locket of J plus A on it, and it starts playing music. Yeah, but there's a lot of symbolism of wolves. I love wolves, but this made me kind of more mistrusting of wolves after I saw it.
Oh my gosh.
But Creep 2,
The sequel.
the sequel, I love how this one does not drag in the beginning. Right from the beginning,
Hmm.
you see now Aaron, which is an interesting feature. He basically takes on the identity of the people that he kills. So now he's approaching this new victim as Aaron, or at least I think he goes by Aaron with the first.
Yeah, he does.
Kills.
It's like he took the names of his last victims,
He's
and
like
that's who he
he's
is.
a hermit crab. He molts from one shell and then fits into another. He kills one person, takes over their identity, and he's a hermit crab. He molts from a shell and takes on a new shell. He's like the backways country version of Patrick Bateman in a way.
I
Who is Patrick Bateman? Does he even know who Patrick Bateman is?
don't think he cares.
Yeah, he's Alberstrand. He's Paul
Yeah.
Allen. He's you, he's me, and he's having a conversation with a clearly younger individual who's the cab driver for the Deadpool movies.
I actually had to look that up because I thought that as soon as I saw his face, I'm like, yo, is that guy from Deadpool?
I recognized him right away, and lo and behold, another safety not guaranteed throwback because I guarantee Mark Duplass picked him because they shared a screen together in Safety Not Guaranteed.
I honestly, I felt like that opening was, like I said, a little more fast paced, but I did like the camera angle they used. Instead of it being like somebody holding it, it was actually coming from a box that he opens. I thought
Yeah,
it was a nice touch.
yeah.
And I'm like, I didn't realize it at first, and until I started noticing the screen had like a fuzzy, like something around it. I'm like, what is it? And all of a sudden he grabs it and moves a box just enough. I'm like, oh shit, it is a box. But that I felt was a nice touch. And then like
Yeah.
showing that even Joseph was trying to evolve, and he realizes he's having a midlife crisis.
A serial killer midlife crisis. It's all getting tiresome for him. This was
And
too
it's funny,
easy.
he admits to the new videographer, who's a girl this time, um, that he is a serial killer, and she's
Yeah.
like completely unfazed by it.
I think it's because the way he says it is like very nonchalant. Like he's not even intense about it, not even threatening about it. It's just like, I'm a serial killer. I'm like, all right. So if one of you said that in normal conversation like he did, I wouldn't believe you. I mean, even like normal thought process, like, oh, he's just fucking with me anyway. Let's just play along and see how this plays out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I could see that being not a very like scary thing because, like I said, very nonchalant and not even threatening at all.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of was a nice little touch to it.
Yeah,
But it was,
it reminds you of like that scene in Bonnie and Clyde where they say, "Oh yeah, we're Bonnie and Clyde. We rob banks," and they're like,
Not
yeah,
joking.
yeah, not joking," and or going back to Patrick Bateman, like, so what do you do? Well, I'm into murders and executions mostly.
Oh, mergers and acquisitions.
Yeah.
But the character, the victim, if you will, if you want to call it that, her name is Sarah. And what makes her different from Aaron is that his desperation was money, and her desperation is relevance because she is very into filmmaking. She does wedding videos, but she also runs her own sort of YouTube series called Encounters, where encounters insecure, lonely men. And she gets no views, no followers. Her channel's tanking. So she's looking for anything to stay relevant and to try and rebuild herself. And yeah, she wants to leave, but holy shit, what a golden opportunity to me to film a legacy serial killer. And I'm actually watching footage of the first movie on this guy's big screen. Like, is that doctored or is that real? But there's a lot of differences between her and Aaron. And I think it's for the best because the one thing that stands out is that his gimmicks don't fly with her. He tries to pull the same fucking shit jump scare thing in front of the camera, and she's like, do you need to go outside? Or are you cranky? What are you serious, man? What's going on? You're not scaring me. He's
Well, at
like,
one point, she like tapes her face or puts like plastic wrap around and scares him, you know?
she
Like she
taped
gives it
her
right
face
back
at
at
the
him.
shower. She's taking a shower at this guy's house. She is fearless as all hell. And he's like, wow, you're not scared by me. That midlife crisis is really kicking in right now, and I don't like that.
I think the one like after he explains that he's a serial killer, and then all of a sudden like he is gonna get in the shower, just comes running back out, just straight up, just strips in front of her. I'm like, dude, that's a giant red flag. I probably would have just like, listen, I get it, dude.
She
But
gets
once
naked
again,
two in front of him saying, okay, are we clear? Here are our boundaries. We've crossed those boundaries. Can we please proceed with the interview?
and it was like when he did that, and then all of a sudden she, like you said, just she clearly does not give zero fucks that this guy is off his fucking rocker.
Mm-hmm.
Just plays along, does the same thing right back to him, just dead stare right back at him, and I'm like, I was actually impressed.
And she does arm herself wisely. She actually has a knife in her boot. Oh,
And doesn't
God.
she admit that at one point too to him?
I think
I know
she
because it
does.
plays later
Yes.
on in the
Oh, yeah. Oh,
film.
yeah. She does admit it. They go for a drive in the same location from the first movie. He's wearing the peach fuzz mask and it's not phasing her at all. It's like that's more of a sight issue. Are you sure you can see through that thing? It's cute. It's not supposed to be cute. It's terrifying. Raw.
Dude's so whacked.
So what? But she is better than him, and I love that in this movie.
It,
That's what makes a good sequel. You know, it kind of reminds you of like something like Dream Warriors, where the
Mm-hmm.
characters evolve and they're not afraid to take on the antagonist. You know, it's like that's what you want to see. You want to
Yeah,
see something given a little more.
there's a lot more humor with this movie. I think I found myself laughing a lot more with this movie, but it also amps up the creep factor in this one too as well. the the Francis Ford Coppola documentary that he's trying to make to try and like reinvent himself as she's trying to reinvent herself. He gets distracted by birds. He loses his shit and he just like buries his head in a hole somewhere. And it's like, oh, someone's being cranky. Oh, I guess I gotta go find him.
Or when
it
he said like you got to first like really get to know each other really well, so he just takes off all of his clothes in front of her and it's just like full frontal, you know, and you're just like,
So does she.
yeah, and she does it too.
Yeah. However, like I said, like I mentioned before when we were talking about Creep, is that Mark Duplass is a really good storyteller. And he once again has another juicy monologue with him just being in a hot tub, talking about a weird song that he's listening to and how he says it's the greatest song of all time. And the reason why no one's ever heard of it because there's a deeper meaning to it, where he met the band and he met the lead singer and he was mentally and physically abused by the band members. He felt betrayed. And as he was going to be killed, he rose above and killed the guy that was going to kill him. And I basked in it. And you could almost say, is he speaking from the heart? Is this really how he started out as a serial killer? Is this his first kill? So it kind of adds more rich context to more of his background. And I also wanted to learn more about the spotted beard patch. There's a spot he missed shaving. Apparently, that was an accident, and so we had to counter that by saying, "I have trichotillomania, which I feel compulsed to rip hairs out of my face." It's a real disorder. Yeah, I think it's trichotillomania. I believe is where you actually feel compelled to rip hair out of your body because you
Jeez.
want it out.
Hmm.
It's a mental disorder, and people do have it. I have spoken to at least 2 people that have it. It's not severe, but they feel the need to like rip hairs off of their arm or their leg or their back. It looks grotesque to them. It's like body dysmorphia in a way. They see a distorted version of this hair on their body and they feel the need to rip it out because a
Wait, so,
shaver doesn't work.
so you mean like it's not like how am I saying it? It's not like they find it like, oh, here's a hair on my neck, I gotta pluck it. It's just, oh man, there's so many of them, I gotta, or like I like the feeling of
It's
plucking
a
it
little
out.
bit of both. It's like I like the feeling, and there's so much on me that I got to get it out. And I feel the only
Ah,
way to get it out is through physical force, not with a razor, whether it's electric or non-electric. But that's a real thing.
jeez.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's rough.
Yeah, holy hell.
it's even worse when it's not their body; it's their hair. They feel compulsed to rip hair out of their body because they get a rush out of it and because they just want to get it out. It's a real disorder, and it's
Yeah,
sad.
yeah, that is sad. Oof.
Classic example. Well, The Boys season 3, that really comes into. If you've ever seen that show, there's one character that has it, and it goes from her having a full head of hair to being bald.
And she just rips it all out.
She wears a wig. Yeah, but yeah, that leads to after his big juicy monologue, she decides to comfort him and take a shower in his own place. It's like she tapes her whole face up. She causes a jump scare in his own movie. And then they sort of go like on a wild tangent in the middle of the night. They just start screaming, like rushing by trees, like trying to scare each other, getting a thrill, getting a rush. It's wild,
Well,
but
like I said, that they were trying to, she was trying to match his intensity to prove that she wasn't afraid of him, and it was
yeah.
pissing him off. So he was trying to do it more. So it's like, once I said, trying to outdo each other, and she was trying to prove a point that she wasn't afraid of.
But I
And it
was
was
so
just,
confused. Is she really afraid of him, or is she truly not afraid of him? I think it's like a
I
little bit of both because
I felt like she couldn't take him seriously.
Mhm.
Like this is just some dude who he's just trying so hard to be wacky, and she's just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna have some fun with you.
Yeah,
yeah, that was
let's
almost
have
the
the
way I
best
took it.
episode of Encounters I could have ever imagined. And yeah, and
Oh,
actually, interesting. It gets to the part where they actually have this big mural of Neuschwanstein Castle in the background. I know that because there was a puzzle that I bought many, many years ago, and it was this castle. So I did some research about it, thinking there has to be a reason why they chose this castle in the movie. Well, it was really built as a retreat palace for King Ludwig II of South Bavaria in Germany. And he never lived to see the full completion of the castle. But to the people of Germany, he was regarded as the fairy tale king. And to people outside of Germany, he was referred to as the Mad King. So it got me thinking, huh, Aaron, creep, is the fairy tale king in his palace in his own mind, and us watching his footage, we see him clearly as a lunatic, a
Hmm.
madman. So that really got me thinking that had to be intentional. Why they put that mural, that castle behind him while playing pool.
Oh, more than likely.
Yeah, he is living in his own fairy tale, living in his own dream world where everything is hunky dory as a serial killer, but we see him clearly as a lunatic and deranged and insane. He's the mad king to us, but to him, he is the fairy tale king. I'm like, they got it. That's got to be intentional. If it wasn't, then kudos to you for a happy accident.
Hmm. Jeff looks confused.
No, I'm just
You
like
really
it.
thinking about what I just said?
Yeah, it's because like if they were trying to do a deeper meaning to it, I mean, like you said, kudos to them. Like trying to, I not even like it was almost like a nonchalant thing too. Like, hey, we're gonna put this here, see, because it has the deeper meaning to what this dude really is. But that's what I was like thinking. I'm like, damn, what if that's true? That's actually like hell yeah, it makes a hell of a lot more sense.
Mm-hmm.
Because like it, if you, there's a lot of times I won't even look at the background of a movie because like the foreground has so much going on. If that's part of what sometimes makes the movie a little bit better, there's like little stuff that are hidden. So like having that mural there, yeah, that would definitely add to the
Yeah.
story.
Hmm.
Neuschwanstein, I think is how it's pronounced. I think it's the Neuschwanstein Castle. It's gorgeous. It's really, really gorgeous, especially when you see pictures of it during the autumn season. And it's open for tours. And it is a very popular destination in Germany.
Cool.
Yeah. And then, oh my God, Aaron has the best idea. How about you kill me in my own documentary? That's how I can Francis Ford Coppola this shit and give a satisfying conclusion to your encounters episode. I kill myself or you kill me. How about that?
Yeah, that and then that's when she finally is like, okay, now it's
Yeah.
gone off the
You
rails.
really want me to throw this axe down the back of your neck with you wearing peach fuzz? Yep, just do it. Oh. And then, of course, yeah, the hanging went wrong, and that was what was trying to send her out of there. Like she was like, you know, what, fuck, dude, that was fun and games are over now. Okay, we had our fun. I can't take you seriously. Now I'm taking you seriously, and now you've ruined everything. I'm the fuck out of here. But he revealed to have a harness on, which is wow, how he wasn't able to be hanged. Oh man. But it
Oh,
definitely has a more satisfying climax, or at least a more edge of your seat climax than the first movie did.
I was gonna say when we get to the hole that he digs and he just presents the knife and he's like, yo, we'll be like Romeo and Juliet.
I lifted it from your boot. Yep, don't even check. I know the knife was in your boot. I grabbed it when you weren't looking. Like, oh my God. No. How is this guy gonna get the edge over this woman who was clearly on top of him the whole time? Don't you fucking do this. And of course he stabs himself. And now it's okay,
Both
this is not
times.
a yeah. You'd think he'd bleed to death from there. No.
No, yeah, she tries to run away because she's like, wow, the hell with this. And then all of a sudden he's going after her.
I can't
Um,
believe like all that blood loss and he's still able to overpower her.
well, no, if you think about it, look at it where he stabbed himself. If you, the whole concept of how the end of Scream is, you got to stab to the side. You're not going to hit anything. You're just going to hit meat. That's exactly what he did. He knew what he was doing because if the way he was stabbing himself, yeah, if he would hit organs, he would have bled out. But he was hitting the meat section, like I said, like they talked in Scream. So it was
Yep.
all for show. So yes, he was bleeding, but it wasn't like fatal. He wanted to give her a security that he was bleeding now, but
Mhm.
she still was like, no.
Oh my God. And then you see him on top, lowering her body in the hole. I'm like, no, what the fuck,
Well,
man?
you missed a big sequence when they run off in the woods. The camera stays. You do hear
Oh, you do.
them wrestle, I guess, and then stabbing, and then all of a
You hear
sudden, then they
multiple
show,
stabs.
yeah. So you don't know who it is until the next sequence of him putting her in the hole.
Ugh. It's like when I saw that for the first time, I wanted to believe it was her just stabbing him multiple times, but no, John, this is a serial killer and she's never killed anyone in her life. So it's like, ugh. I was just so let down by that. And then, of course, he has to say, that was the greatest episode of Encounters ever. I think I'm not going to die tonight. I think I've reinvented myself. I think I'm out of my slump now. I think I'm going to go kill more people now. I'm going to recover from this. And then I see her crawling out of a hole thinking, please, please let this be the end. Please fucking like decapitate him with the shovel. Please do this. And then the whack. And of course, I'm like, you were smart this whole time, Sarah, but you could have had a moment to just, like I said, decapitate him with the fucking shovel. But no, you just gave him a bump in the back of the head with blood.
And she got the fuck out of there.
He got the fuck out of there, is right.
I mean, maybe she thought she did kill him because, like,
Probably did.
I mean, dude, full baseball swing to the back of the head. You don't expect anybody to get back up.
That could easily have been a depressed skull fracture. And once that happens, you've got internal bleeding in your skull. You're going to be dead within minutes, if that.
Did you guys laugh at that though? And he's like, and then, oh,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Probably a little more than I care to admit.
I'm just like, yes. I'm like, but is he fucking dead? I don't know this because I want to believe he's dead, but this guy is clearly deranged and he's been through this ordeal. He could have been through this ordeal before.
This is a fucking creep, man. We wanted this to happen. That's what they
Hence the
wanted us
title.
to do. Yeah.
And then there's another fucking scene. I'm like, no, no. And Sarah is the actress. I forget her name, but she is a New York actress. So I was like, oh, she's right back in her environment. She's in a major city. And the camera zooms in on her. She's clearly changed her look. Her hair's different. And then you get on the bus with her and you hear him whistling that fucking tune that he started the movie with, looking right at her, and she looks back, and that's the end. I'm like, oh my God, no, 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 no. But I've seen some interpretations. I've seen some people say, oh, it's clearly him. It has to be him. And then some people say, what if it's just a random person who just saw a pretty girl and then just zoomed in the camera and just started whistling a tune that got her attention? Like,
yeah.
yeah, it's ambiguous. It's like, just.
But truthfully, who knows the Peach Fuzz song? That's what the tune was. And
But I thought it was a familiar nursing rhyme that he just embellished.
probably, but it's like the
I'm
fact that
just
it's
gonna
that
get a rabbit.
specific, yeah, that specific
Yeah.
song. And like you could tell that she didn't notice it at first until he whistled at her. So it's
Mhm.
like if it is the interpretation of it is somebody else just whistling, filming a pretty girl, could be. But the fact that it's that specific tune lets you know it's Joseph. Because if even under that circumstance, yeah, we were saying that shovel to the back of the head should have killed him, but in horror movie, you know, thought process, the
Yes.
killer doesn't die unless you physically see it.
As Randy from Scream 3 says, you got to cryogenically freeze the person, you got to decapitate him, or you got to blow him up. That's the only way to kill him.
Exactly. Because like you said, if it's just some random person whistling that tune, no.
Yeah.
That was specific for what was going on between the movie 1 and movie 2. Especially with the mask, him singing that song, it's all tied together. That's what made me want that third one because now he has been revigored and we might actually get a little bit more of an intense Joseph rather than the kind of nonchalant, I'm gonna scare you, the
Yeah.
midlife crisis. Now you're gonna have a revigored Joseph, so you might actually have a little more intensity to it.
Oh my God, I just realized he is going to become Patrick Bateman now. His new feeding ground is New York City. He is Patrick Bateman now. This is where he's going to live, and this is where he's going to find more victims. Like, no. If that was to be Creep 3, that would be my idea. But after seeing the movie, even though I have a mix of emotions, like highs and lows, highs and lows. I like that because it wasn't predictable. The first
Mm-hmm.
movie, to my opinion, I'm like, I'm just waiting for him to become a serial killer because that's what he is. But the second movie, I couldn't predict what was going to happen next. Couldn't. And I feel like I told myself, I kind of hope there isn't a Creep 3. But if there were to be one, I think it should take place in New York City.
It'd be
This is
nice
his
because
new
like if you
beating
think of,
ground.
let's say that and like the first two really were isolated. So it was a cabin and then it was actually a really nice house. So opening the door to a city would make it, like I said, a little more intense.
Yeah.
So now you've got more to play with.
It's a bigger
Mm-hmm.
budget. It's more, yeah.
But if you think about it too, though, if you go that big, it's going to take away from the story because the first two movies being that small, it was more of an intimate thing between two people where that's where you're building the intensity between the two, where Aaron and Joseph were kind of slowly getting where they got. Sarah and Joseph were already kind of neck and neck at whether or not who's crazier than the other.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
if you kind of take that and go citywide, it kind of eliminates that little intimacy that they have that he likes that it builds up for.
Okay. I was thinking more in terms of like how to change it up from here. Like if we do another intimate look in a smaller location, is it just more rinse and repeat from the first two movies, or do we change it up completely in three? Do we Scream Six this shit?
I mean, you could
We
still
go away
have
from
that.
Woodsboro and go to New York.
Well, you could have that same feeling because of like you being in the city, you can still have those intimate moments, but you're ultimately gonna have like odd filming things where you're gonna have a group of people, like you don't know which who it could be, but ultimately you're gonna end up back at that little intimate moment. So you're gonna have to figure out an isolated moment of whether or not how he's gonna fuck with them, or whether or not how you isolate that one person from a group. And it seems like that's what he wants. He's looking for a weak person to isolate to manipulate.
A lot of possibilities. Oh, yeah. Like I
Mm-hmm.
said, I'm okay with there not being a Creep 3, even though it's in development.
Oh, it is.
It still is. I mean, that could have been years ago. I mean, who knows what's going to happen with that?
Well, now the strike's over with. I'm sure a lot of
Well, the
things are going to
writer's strike is over.
resume.
The actor strike is still going on.
Oh, really?
The actor strike continues as they refuse to come to the demands of the actors because AI is still a thing on the table, and that can't be. So they're still at an impasse.
Oh,
That's
wow,
crazy.
Yeah,
that's a discussion for another time
but it is.
then.
The writers are paid up, the directors are paid up, just not the actors.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's screwed up.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Still going.
That
Not
just
the end scene
boggles my
yet.
mind because no matter what, you're not going to get the same kind of feeling that human emotion will actually give, especially in a performance.
No. Everything is computer generated so they can save a few pennies. A lot of pennies.
Yeah, but
Pennies that help pay a mortgage and rent and food and clothing and things you need to live.
the AI is a shit product. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Who's going to want to watch it?
Studios want it. Actors don't want anything to do with it.
I wouldn't do that. I'd start up my own studio and say we're going old school.
Yeah. That's why A24 is willing to give into the actors' demands. And they said, yeah, we'll give you what you want. Come work for us. And so they have.
I
There
mean,
are
it makes a
a
lot of
few that are
sense.
doing it.
Yeah, I think we need to I think we need to go back to the old ways anyway. I mean, like speaking of creep, I mean, this is a pretty simple movie. It was just actors, set, location, and for like a documentary type movie, it was pretty steady. It wasn't like all shaky cam, as like Blair Witch was. They
That's
actually did a really good job at making sure that like I could tell like when some scenes got uneasy, that's when it started feeling a little distorted, which it
because
should
they're not professional
because
filmmakers. They're like amateur filmmakers. So it needs to have that reflected.
yeah, and it's also theater of the mind where it's just like a camera trick to make you feel like, yeah, now you're really uneasy because everything's intensified. You're looking through the eyes of like Aaron or Sarah, and this is how they feel. Like everything's not calm. It's not easy. It's all over the place. It's like how lighting plays an effect. Like the like green lighting will make you feel sick and uneasy, and red gives you like an ominous, like something's wrong. AI can't capture stuff like that. I mean, I'm pretty sure it probably will, like the more it develops, but I just fucking pull the plug on it. I mean, we grew up with Terminator. I mean, what bigger warning do you need?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Uh, I'm just thinking like you talking about AI and acting. I'm like, think about all the movies that we've talked about up to this moment and how we've talked about how um the human emotion, um how the one that I seem to always surprise everybody with is Daniel Harris's performance in Halloween 4 and 5. We wouldn't be able to get that from a robot.
No.
And truthfully, just it's weird. Like even the fact that the studio's like, oh yeah, this is a good idea. I'm like, no, no, like I didn't realize that was still like, oh yeah, they want to go move forward with it. Yeah, it might be cheaper, but you're gonna make really bad products.
You are.
Like, kudos to A24 for doing what they're doing. As
Mm-hmm.
much as I don't like all their movies, it's like it's cool that they are still being progressive. Don't you dare, John.
I
We
don't
all
like all their movies either. There's a bunch that I like, and there's some that are just clearly not for me and not for a lot of people. So not
it,
everyone
it
I make is a hit in my
I
book.
mean, when we were talking yesterday about A24 getting a hold of Halloween, and instantly all I could think of was Midsummer and Hereditary and whatever bullshit horror movies they've been doing. Yes, I'm calling them bullshit. Because to me, like that whole concept of elevated horror is kind of dumb. Like, yes, we don't want the same thing over and over, but you're gonna continue doing movies that make you feel stupid because it's slow and boring. No, you need something that might be
I
that
don't.
blatant every now and again.
That's another discussion.
Because
I don't believe in elevated horror. Like my word on that is do a better job in the other departments. Do a better job with makeup. Do a better
But
job with editing. It's not elevated horror. Just do a better job.
yeah, I mean, elevated horror works. I mean, Shining's basically elevated horror, but it's like you got to do it right. It's always about that progression. Like you see it, you feel it, and you wonder why is it driving these people to this extent? And I think the thing is that what impresses us the most is when humans can actually do that and make you believe that they're like as sick as it sounds, like really suffering with it. Um,
I was gonna say, take for instance, The Witch. That was one that I originally hated because a once again that whole elevated horror concept. But like as I looked into it and watched it more than once, it made me realize like yeah, the build-up's there, everything's there, but you're looking more at how Anna Joy Taylor was presenting it. So it essentially was her story. So you know that other stuff's going on around her, but as ultimately it was her story discovering whether or not she was a witch or not. She may have not been at all. And that was the nice thing about it. That was one of the few times I thought A24 nailed it. And but past that, I'm like sitting there like, all right, I was like, cool, they did this one, so maybe I'll try that one. Or like everyone kept praising different ones, and I'm like, no,
When
please stop.
I don't believe in elevated horror because when people say elevated horror, I call them experts. I call them people who are doing their job and they assemble the best people to make a great product. Now, we're not saying Creep and Creep 2 are great products, but these two films definitely stand above a good portion of the found footage movies. I've seen some awful found footage films, awful, awful product, full of nothing but shaky cam, unlikable characters, a non existent script. They don't have scripts, most of them don't. But it just seemed like they just kind of drew lines on a cocktail napkin as they were drunk and said, "Can we put that in the movie? Sure, why not?" Like So I wouldn't even call Creep and Creep 2 are not elevated horror. They're just, I think, a good team of people that did their job, and they did the job very, very well.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think what the best thing about it, like I said before, was that it's effective in making you feel like like Aaron, get out. Obviously this dude's not right. It's not worth the money.
Yeah.
Like it's just getting worse and worse, and the dude's just sticking around. And you're like, what are you doing? Is
Yeah.
it because you're too nice? Is it because you're too stupid? No, it's both. Like
Yeah.
it's effective, and I think that's where like a lot of horror movies really fail, is that we don't feel anything. We don't feel suspense. We don't feel anything sort of effective, and that's why a lot of them suffer. And I
I
think
mean,
that's where like a lot of slasher movies just come into play because they're just fun. But yet we've had good slasher movies where we liked characters and we felt bad when they would get killed or mutilated even more. And then now it's just like, oh man, I can't wait for Jason to just hack this guy.
There are mentalities about this process when it comes to all horror films, but I just said, like, you know, focus more on that. Give that script 5 or 6 more passes before you're settled on it. Have good characters. Take the time to invest in these characters. Take the time to give us some people that we want to succeed or care about. But if your mentality is just to have lambs to the slaughter or mannequins with a pulse, okay, then if that's what your approach is going to be, then everything else has to be top notch. Have better direction.
Well, I
Or
think another problem is I heard that a lot of productions, they really don't give you a whole lot of time to get to know each other from the cast either. So when you don't really know each other and you don't like build some sort of bond, as weird as it sounds, like even say like you don't get along, but still you have a feeling for each other, you don't really get that like real connection on set.
I think that's what helps these two movies. Like I said, Safety Not Guaranteed, 2012, the movie that brought the majority of these people together. They've already been in that same pool. They've had years of buildup to lead to the first movie. So they already had the connection. They already had the give and take. They already had a game plan of what they wanted to do, and they've sampled different endings. They've sampled different dialogue scenes. They know what works and what doesn't because they have a connection with each other. I think
And,
that's what really helps these two films because everybody knew each other for the most part ahead of time
I mean, look at why like certain directors like Tarantino and Tim Burton use the same actors over and over
because
again.
they know what they're capable of.
Exactly. Or even if they say like I know you and I know friends or something, or like we're friends outside of here, and it becomes, hey, I want to put you in my movie, even if it's just a small part. They do it because they trust them and because there
Yeah.
is that bond. And if say like other actors know them on set, they can build that as well. Like I think Heather Langenkamp and Amanda Wyss from Nightmare on Elm Street, I think they're still really good friends to this day.
That'd be awesome if they were. I
Yeah,
hope so.
like I thought I saw posts where like they both go out and celebrate each other's birthdays if they can, and say they still talk. Like they were at the premiere of Halloween Ends together.
That's great.
Yeah, look at Scout Taylor Compton and Daniel Harris. They
Mhm.
they knew each other on Rob Zombie's Halloween. Now they have a podcast together. So
Yeah.
and it really does build like real relationships to put out like authentic feeling and emotion on screen.
Yeah.
I mean, honestly, like the three of us, we've known each other for years, and everyone hears our banter. Like, dude, John and I seem like we hate each other. Well, I hate John,
Eh,
but it's in reality that's just the way we are, and
Yeah.
it does make for a better feel. Like even in movies, like so if we've known each other for me and Colin since we were 12, John, what better part of 10 years now? Maybe wow,
Something like that.
15 years.
Eight,
yeah,
eight. Yeah, it's just getting there. Yeah.
Yeah, but it's like we've built this relationship, and it does make for a better environment.
Yeah.
But if you're gonna, like you said, maybe it was just certain movies like they don't give that enough time for that little bit of a build up, even if it's just,
Yeah.
hey, go out and have drinks for a little bit, come back, kind of get that feel for each
Right.
other.
Oh,
hmm
it's been more than 10 years. Alice Cooper, House of Blues. That's like the first time I think we met each other. So
yeah, yeah. The funny story is the first time Jeff met John because I said, John, when you see him, he kind of looks like Christian Bale. And then Jeff rolled down his window in the car. John's walking over, and I yell out, "Hey, John!" And then Jeff just goes, "Say I have to return some videotapes."
Yep.
Not, "Hey, John, nice to meet you. How's it going?" Just say I have to return some videotapes. True story.
Yeah, dude, that was actually pretty funny.
And then we all went to Atlantic City to watch Alice Cooper.
We have
Right.
not to get too far off topic, do we have favorite scenes from these movies?
um, there's really not like because there's really nothing that is like significant in the scenes other than certain climactic parts. I think the parts that stand out to me the most that are memorable in the first one are obviously Peach Fuzz. That's a big one. People are gonna think I'm messed up for this, but when Aaron gets the axe in the back of the head, I laughed at it.
Listen, that was a beautifully shot murder. Okay, it was perfectly framed. It was...
Yeah, I just saw the oh, and I'm like,
Doesn't he go for the second whack too? And I'm like, what the
Yep.
fuck?
Yep.
Dude's already dead.
and the
To me,
Peach
it
Fuzz
was.
mask goes on, and the axe just, and then boom.
Yep. I laughed my ass off when he gave himself a final jump scare. He screams at the camera. He screams right back at the camera. I laughed my ass off at that. That wasn't jolting at all. I'm like, that is wow.
And the part
Oh.
where he goes, and that's why I will always love you. I'm like, what the fuck? But that and then the second one, just like him stabbing himself, and Sarah just like, okay, I'm out of here. Like finally,
Yeah.
she just says it's like now all of a sudden it changes. So I wouldn't necessarily say they're favorite scenes because it's documentary found footage type film,
Yeah.
but it's significant scenes, and they're the reasons why they stick out to me.
Yeah. I know for me, like, well, I should say it's really, I mean, the one scene that stands out to me, the one that impacted me the most was actually, like I said before, the scene where the camera's turned off and the microphone goes up and Mark Duplass is giving that really grim story about the truth of Peach Fuzz. And that like is the one scene in the movie, as awful as it was, whether it happened or not, it definitely forced me to pay attention and to really get under the skin of this human being who probably isn't a human being. But I mean, it definitely drew my attention in thinking, I gotta turn the volume up a little bit. I can see the subtitles, but I want to like hear everything. And that was like really, and then of course he delivers that final line, and then they pass it off like, oh yeah, he didn't record. So in conclusion, buddy, and Aaron's like, nope, I think we're good. I'm out of here. Get the fuck out of here. And then for me in the scene in the second movie, as much as it drove me nuts, but the whole climax and the confrontation, the fight between Sarah and Aaron at that time was definitely the most impactful scene, because who's going to win? You don't know who's going to win, and then you finally have an idea who's going to win, and then misdirection.
Jeff's favorite scene was the
Yeah.
nudity.
Yeah, yeah,
Oh yeah. The
the
tub
male
scene,
nudity
and then the
specifically.
fireplace. And I honestly I realized what it was that I did not like about this movie, like the first movie, because like as we've talked about it, it made me realize what it was that I didn't like. And sometimes I think that's why I enjoy these conversations, because there are times you guys swayed me into like rewatching a movie. I won't admit it, but this is the first time, like as we're talking, I realized what it was about that first one. Like it, I did not like. And that first one really, it kind of made me angry just because of how stupid Aaron really was. And I think that's what it was. That right there is what made me not like that movie, because like the slow buildup and how stupid he really was. And I'm like, there's no way people are that stupid. And so like over this past hour, as we're talking about that, I'm like, that's what I dawned on. I'm like, all right, so that's why it was something that it wasn't that it was shot bad. It wasn't that it was a bad story. It was the fact that stupidity was what made me hate that movie.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's kind of weird. The fact that that's what made me hate the movie. Because I've seen worse movies, and I mean I've seen worse movies, and I'm
He
like,
has.
Yes.
and
And
it's
then he
like,
recommends them, which is even worse. And then he says, "Oh, it's great." And
oh,
then you
dude,
watch it and go, "Don't you ever give me a fucking recommendation again."
I mean, at that point, I do just go, hey, watch it. I want it's more or less for the reaction. Like I know it's bad, so now I want to see what your reaction is. And it's
Oh,
like, even if I say it's a good movie, it's like I can see on their face, like, is he actually lying or is he just whether or not it's a good movie? Like
did you say that
it's
after 10 drinks or 20?
none at all. I
Uh,
say with a straight face. But it's that's what made me hate that movie. And it's like, would I recommend this movie to people? Probably because it, like I said, it makes you think about it more of the second movie where it has the
Yeah.
better build up. You get to see the, like I said, the almost the intimate intensity between Sarah and Aaron. And like I said, it was almost like a pissing contest of whether or not who's going to give up first. Obviously, she was like, I'm out, like right at the end where the crazy actually starts happening. But I agree with you, John, that the second movie was better played out. It had a little more fast pacing, but it was more believable on Sarah's account that it wasn't that she was stupid about everything. She was trying to be more relevant. She didn't believe him because of how nonchalant he was about everything.
yeah.
If you would have shown me a video like that and you're like, oh yeah, I kill people, I'm like, I would have never believed it because
That
that
could have
looks like
been
a
staged. That
shitty.
could have been a rubber axe that you slammed in the guy's head, and he just acted really well, like he just died. Like
Yeah.
that's not a snuff film. Snuff films don't exist.
And it
Yeah,
would
they
show that he's
don't.
just a weirdo.
Yeah,
And like I felt like it was a little bit more of a better character development that she decided to turn around and start fucking with him then.
yeah.
And like you said, when you brought up the shower scene, I'm like, I laughed at that one because I'm like, I was not expecting it to happen. I expected
Red
him to do
lights
some
and the
more.
tape on the face. Like,
And then the fact that it was like an awkward, like extra beat on her face so you can see all the tape.
yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, well played. Well played. I'll give you that one.
And
Yeah.
he's enjoying it. He's like, you gave me a rush. And it's like, oh, oh, ah! It just goes from 1 to 11 in that scene.
And it looks like it was some weird improv that she just did. Like, here, let me put tape on my face.
Right. And he had no idea it was going to happen.
Exactly.
That was actually one thing I did read about both movies. A lot of the dialogue was improv without being a script. It was just outlined like this is what we're gonna do,
Yep.
and they just kind of fed off of each other. So that's probably why Sarah and him really did have that nice build up because
Mhm.
he did something, she reacted. She did something, he reacted. So you're getting that nice build up from that, and I thought that was actually a nice little touch.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm. For sure.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely would say, like what you just said, Jeff, like I would recommend these movies to people because they don't like give you that in your face, like horror, scary feeling. But if you like true crime stuff, it does give you that like weird, uneasy feeling because like you're just watching and uh, you're watching the time go by with somebody who's videotaping their time, probably their last few hours with this killer.
Yeah.
And it's just a matter of time before, they get to the end of the rope.
Yeah.
And they're not great. I admit that they're not great movies, but they're worth a watch.
Oh yeah.
I feel like, like Jeff said, I mean, you watch the first one and you're like, man, Aaron's like a nice guy, but yet he's too stupid. And that is the ultimate downfall. And it's called out in the movie.
Yeah.
It's not like it's hidden. And then the second one does what a sequel should do, try to up it and change it up and try to be better than the first. And
Yeah.
I've heard the same thing, like there are very few people who know about these films, and they have said that like both really aren't that bad. I've heard some people say like they don't like them at all, which I understand too. Maybe that type of film isn't their thing, but overall, I can't really say like I wouldn't say like, oh, you got to go buy it on Blu-ray or something.
No,
You know it,
no, there's no need for that.
but it definitely is worth a watch.
Yeah. Of the Netflix films, this is one series that I find is one of the most rewatchable. Because when you watch these Netflix movies, you find yourself one and done. One was enough, and that's it, because they have similar vibes. There's only a handful that I watch over and over again. This is one of them. It's a very simple premise, and there's a lot more under the surface if you care to dig. And yeah, it's worth what, not even 3 hours of your time. It's probably
Yeah,
about 2.5 hours of one night in the month of
Yeah.
October.
and like Jeff said, you know, like part of our the point of why we discuss this sort of stuff is so that people will have like a better open mind about it. Like they might hear found footage and go, "Oh, here's another Blair Witch thing," but
Yeah.
it's actually
Another
shot.
gimmick.
It's shot a lot better. They surprisingly they flow really well, and I think the time where it's compact helps a lot. But it does keep you on your feet, you know, throughout the whole both movies.
Yeah.
There really isn't like a point that lags, like maybe the hiking scene or something like that, but it all usually leads to something which is good, you know.
Yeah.
It doesn't just like make you get bored with it.
Yeah.
You guys have anything else to add to our creep discussion?
No, I'm good.
No, I mean, like I said, it when I first started watching this with you two, and I already started like hating both of you.
Yeah, we
And
got the
it,
text.
yeah, I was like, all right, here we fucking go. I was like, here's another fucking one of John's movies. But it's like, I am glad I got to watch them, and it was pretty funny. Like I said, it's like as I admitted that I would recommend it, and then oh, here we go. But um, I'm glad I watched it. I'm glad that I actually took the time and made the effort of getting
This is
through
for
both
you,
of them.
Jeff. This
I
is for
know.
Friday the 13th fans everywhere. Oh!
Uh, but yeah, I would say definitely just give them a watch, even if you're not a horror fan. Like Colin was saying, true crime is like a better feel for these. The
Yeah.
jump scares I thought were pretty funny on the fact that he was doing the jump scares for no reason at all. So it's like you're walking, also maybe like hide behind a tree and just hop out. And yeah. But I have to say before we end this, Colin, did you know your pumpkin behind you has some nice tits?
Oh yeah, that's why I kept her there.
I was like watching this. I'm like, does he actually know? Is this because everything is blurred out of your entire background except for that pumpkin?
Oh my
Yeah, that's my girl Shirley.
God.
I don't know. Something I'm like, I didn't know it was on purpose.
Man.
You want to touch him later?
All right, I'll be over. What's about an hour from now?
Okay.
Yep.
Oh my God.
John's a little closer.
But I do have to admit, like, as I'm watching all three of us, I'm like, all our backgrounds do fit us. Like John with his painting, me with the Ouija, you
Goodbye.
actually with
It's
your
I just see goodbye.
yeah,
Yeah.
and the fact that the two hands usually touch the either side of my head.
Yeah.
But yeah, Colin, that one sticks out. That's perfect for October.
I'm gonna keep her around. She's coming to Salem with us.
Hell yeah. Put her in the one of the windows.
Yep. She'll
Oh
ride
my
in the
god.
back with Thea.
Oh my god. She would probably have fun with it.
Yeah. I mean, I do have I have this guy too here.
Actually, I pulled that out
Oh, he's
today and
looking
she
at him and he's smiling. Oh, pervert.
oh
I mean, I
my
got
god.
jack-o'-lanterns all up in my kitchen, you know.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's a perfect time of year, especially for this movie, these movies, I should say. Like you said,
Hmm.
if you're not into horror, but you do like getting the aesthetic of it, oh, absolutely. This would
Yeah.
be a perfect series for that.
Yeah.
It
Yeah,
is, it's a nice gateway for horror.
it's like a tame version of Silence of the Lambs, I guess is a good way to say it. Not so in your face, not so gory, but just makes you feel uneasy.
Yeah.
Just enough to make you go, ugh.
Exactly.
I don't think it will exactly give you nightmares unless you got a weak mind, I guess.
If you've had a stalker in your life, this probably will give you nightmares.
Yeah,
If you've
no,
ever been a victim like these two, Aaron and Sarah, then yeah, you might want to grip that knife a little tighter. You might want to go to sleep with the lights on because it's a really realistic depiction of stalking.
oh, you're right about that.
So this to the certain person, this could easily unsettle them and give them nightmares and not want to watch it because they've been through something maybe not quite like this, but something similar.
Mm-hmm.
Gifts in the mail. I mean, good God.
Yeah.
Coming into your place and cutting your hair.
Full frontal nudity after we just met. God.
I think that's how I'm gonna start meeting people. Everybody, just full frontal. Get to see all the tattoos right away. Just be done with it. Nice to
Maybe
meet you.
not.
Just
Yeah,
drop trout.
yeah. Hey,
You're right.
welcome to my place.
You meet a nudist, it's like, well, now I've seen you. Now you got to see me.
Yeah. That'd be kind of an awkward way to start a conversation. Hold on a minute. Well,
I've had accidental nudity scenes. Jeff, you remember?
yeah,
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. We ended there now.
To be fair, I
Probably.
had my wisdom teeth pulled and I was out of it.
That's why I have Shirley.
Yeah.
Wait, is Shirley gonna be your peach fuzz?
You can only go motorboat and you can't actually wear her.
Oh my God, instead
Man,
of pumpkins, they could be peaches.
I mean, look at those things. You
Oh
can
my
grow a whole
god.
patch with those.
Okay.
On that note,
Okay.
All right, everybody. So, with that being said, we shall sign off. This is Colin Peters.
Honor Shatter.
and Jeff Manfred.
Thank you all once again for listening. Stay safe. Stay
Stay
crazy.
crazy.
Please, somebody help me.
Oh, yeah.